Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Get Jashed. I'm really excited to have with me today Nancy Griffin. So, Nancy is the CEO and founder of Women, Worth and Wellness, established in 1994 as a private client wealth advisor for her female clients and their families. And immediately, I already think of the early to mid 90s as some kind of revolutionary act, even that was back then. But Nancy continues to promote and inspire daring and caring leaders, encouraging them to step up and lead in the world, following in the footsteps from many other powerful women leaders in the past. So I'm so grateful to have you on today, Nancy. I'm excited for this conversation.
Thanks, Jess. Likewise. And thank you for inviting me. This is wonderful and great that you're doing all the work that you're doing. It is absolutely so important. So important.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And likewise, obviously. So, for context for listeners, and also so I get to nerd out and dive into more of it with you, how do you define women's leadership in the work that you do? So, especially when tying it to health, wealth, and community impact.
Very simply stepping up and stepping out, like really knowing that you are worthy to make yourself the best asset that you possibly can be. And that means that you need to make your health your AAA1 priority because we take our health for granted. We head out and we keep going until something slows us down. So really, if your health is fabulous, know that that's a special privilege and just ask yourself, how do I continue to stay healthy and make yourself the priority? And then you focus on your wealth and that whole scenario.
Mm. Oh, I love this. I love this conversation already, and I love what you're sharing already because immediately I think of all the women that I know in my life, whether they're family or friends, who um, it's almost like we give our health away. Like if we have any extra health or even, even money in some cases, but like if we have any extra health or energy, there's this kind of conditioning and I feel a little bit removed from it, but I've seen people in my close family go through this where if there's anything extra we have, it's immediately like we need to go, oh, I'll give that to you. Oh, I'll pass that on to you. And it's something that I've been thinking about recently too, where it's like, oh, what would happen if we didn't? Like there's a difference between sharing and giving of ourselves to the point of, like you sort of inferred that maybe we don't feel as healthy and then we don't have the same resources to have that impact on the world.
It's almost like we validate our worth by making everybody else the priority. When
Mhm.
in fact, that is, we can still do that. And we can even do a better job doing that if we make sure that we're the best that we can be first,
Yeah.
really. And
Yeah.
then be thoughtful about how much you are doing. And is there any way somebody else could do some of this? When you're in a partnership relationship or when you've got kids, sometimes the best thing that you can do as a leader is
Mhm.
help other people become leaders. And that means that you're not going to do it all. It means that you're going to ask somebody else if they wouldn't mind taking on this responsibility. And of course, when they take it on and they do it, they're not going to do it the way you would do it. But
Yep.
so what?
So
So
what it's
what?
done, like it could be as simple as like the compulsion to just be like, I'll just empty the dishwasher. I'll just get it
Right.
done because then it's done. It's like, oh, or what if? What if I just let someone else do it and just
Correct.
I don't have to swoop in there and kind of it's almost this isn't an accusation for any women like ever, but like it's almost like this version of saviorism where it's like, well, I've got to get it done and look how quickly I can get it done. It's like,
Correct.
what if we actually just gave space and let other
Yes,
people learn how to stack the dishwasher and if it's different, then it's different and it doesn't matter because it's done and we haven't had to do it. Like very simple thing,
exactly.
but I think it's relatable in that way.
Definitely. And you're spot on about the 90s because that really was a really was a decade of transformation. And a
Hmm.
lot of our partners are ones who were brought up by moms who did do it all. And
Yes.
so they're used to it being done by someone else all the time. They don't think twice. And they will continue to think that way unless you take the bull by the horns and say, excuse me, would you mind? Would this be a reasonable request for you to unload the dishwasher?
Yeah.
Something like that, you know?
Yeah. Yep. Can you take this responsibility so I don't even need to ask you?
Right,
And we're kind of getting into more like, relational gender roles, but I think this is part of it as like so many of us, like exactly as you said, have been conditioned
right.
not through blame or through fault, but
No,
just conditioned because that's just how it was in the 90s. Like
exactly.
I remember enough to know that it was that sort of shifting and that transformation. But, imagine how much happier relationships now would be if there
Right,
wasn't that lingering conditioning, on either side of the relationship. It's
right. And don't expect that person to notice that maybe they should be offering to be helpful,
mm,
because that may not even be the anything that would come into their mind. So
yeah.
sometimes you've got to take the lead and you've got to say, would you mind? Is this something that, and then once they get it, they say, of course, I can do
Mm.
that. No problem. No problem.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh, exactly. So I'm really curious, can you share the moment or the reason or the season or the whatever it was for you where you realized women's health and wellness needed to be talked about together rather than separately?
Well, I was recruited into the wealth management business in 1992. And so once you get started, you've got to have all your licenses.
Mm.
And you're with a great company that has a great training program. And it looks like, okay, let's go. And then they say, okay, Nancy, everything's go, except there's one small problem here. And that is you've got to go find your own clients. We don't have clients for you. It's like, okay. But part of the training was who you want to work with as clients. Like this is who
Mm.
you're going to track after. People who you think you can add value to their lives over a long period of time because it's going to be a long, long, long relationship. And
Mm.
those people need to be ones that you care about, that you're going to bring your best forward to help them be their best. And
Yeah.
so that's when I thought I'd already been through quite a bit myself. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to focus on women, not exclusively, but primarily. So
Mm.
one of the investment firms that I was working with that offered up a program, a marketing program, it was called Investing in Yourself. So they had all the marketing materials. All I had to do was organize an event, which I did. And I had over 150 women show up because women come in packs, as you know.
Oh yeah, we do. We like I need a friend to come with me. I'm not going to this place alone. Like
Exactly, exactly. And the sweet timing for me was that first Saturday in November, because it's
Oh,
after Halloween and kids are in
yeah.
school and it's not yet Christmas. And so there's just that moment in time. So now I've got all these prospects. So the next step is you got to meet with them all. So you start to meet with people and start to talk about putting together a wealth plan. Well, very simply, you realize these women really can't move off the mark in
Mm.
terms of focusing on money because they're bogged down with all the responsibilities within their household. And it's like every mom is expected to be a nurse practitioner. And I'm thinking,
Yes.
what do these women know about health? I don't know. I'll go to an expert. So that's when I started to partner with not-for-profit health-related organizations focusing on women's health. In Toronto, we have a hospital called Women's College Hospital, over
Mm.
100 years old, and that's their exclusive business with research and programs and treatment. And so I immediately partnered with them and they're doing all sorts of different events. So I would simply invite my clients and their friends. I would charge them a nominal amount, like $25 or $50. So
Yeah.
you're starting to introduce charitable giving as part of enhancing net worth because it's a deduction from your tax return.
Mhm.
But then, equally important, if you're in a position to give, then it enhances your self worth. And so, you really gradually start to introduce a lot. I did with the Heart and Stroke Foundation. We have got a great cancer center in Toronto. So I did it with all sorts of different organizations. Very same idea, but the whole purpose of the exercise was to increase women's awareness about whatever that situation is, health related. But equally important, they now have contacts to go back to if they have questions. Because you can't just phone up your doctor with a quick question. Could you answer blah, blah? And Google doesn't give you all the answers.
And you can't
And
trust it anyway if it does. Like you're like, well, it
exactly.
might not be this though.
No, exactly. So just starting to build a whole roster of resources that are there for these women. But the
Yeah.
90s also, especially in North America, as women were gaining more power with the money that they were earning, it also was a time when women were learning how to play golf. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I got to get out there. These guys are having too much fun and they're
Yeah.
doing business at the same time.
Exactly. It was so exclusionary to, oh, we do deals on the golf course.
Right, right. So I organized the first women's golf tournament with this women's college hospital, had 32 golfers, which was a big deal. You were happy that 32 came. But then 2 years later, I had 144. And that's a full
Wow.
complement because it's like, wow, this is amazing. And I had a pro that we have in Canada who'd won LPG for, I think, 3 times.
Mm,
So she was revered. So she came and did a golf clinic. And then, but it's all part of the whole women's college hospital community.
yeah.
And so women are having some fun. They're learning how to golf. They're raising money for the hospital. And
Yeah.
it's like you create a whole community. And so we just went on from there. But really, as I started to build wealth plans for individuals, we really focused on health first because
Wow.
women have so many responsibilities that they, to the what we just discussed about, that, excuse me, you've got to be well in order to handle all of those responsibilities.
Yeah. There's so many layers that I want to dive into there. Like I love that idea of the golf clinic. So it was a women's only tournament that you or
I
event
think
that
we
you
had
did?
one foursome of men
Oh wow.
who we gladly accepted because there's nothing wrong with a few ambassadors being champions
Exactly.
for what we're up to.
Exactly. And did you find that that went well? Like that
Oh,
they
very well.
I, I
At the,
I was going to say I'm like that they integrated well, but that's not the wording or the meaning I mean. But yeah.
yeah, no, we had a sprinkle of diversity, just a
Yeah,
sprinkle.
just a sprinkle.
But during the 90s, with the investment companies, they
Yeah.
could give all sorts of gifts and donations and whatever. We had so many prizes. We had to
Mm,
have 3 levels of winners at the end to get rid of all this stuff. Now, with all sorts of restrictions with compliance and all those sorts of things, you would be lucky to have one golf ball to give to anybody. I mean,
yeah.
the times have changed considerably. But
Mm.
my assistant at the time, I said, we've got to come up with all kinds of prizes or all kinds of categories to get rid of all this stuff because we're not going to schlep it all home. Like we don't need any more golf bags. So,
That's
but it was so
incredible.
much fun.
That's incredible. There was so much support and
Really, there
buy-in
was.
from, it sounds like from the get-go as well.
It was. It was. It really was. It was terrific. Really terrific.
Yeah, that is incredible. Like think about if like I run events and if I tried to do an event like that today, it would be it would do you actually, that's a good question because do you see what are the differences you see about doing these things in the 90s and we kind of we know the 90s and what that was all about and the challenges that would have been there. Do you see a difference or similarities to doing those things today in terms of support for or pushback or just any challenges to get buy-in from people these days in
Well,
comparison?
then it was fairly unique. So it was kind of
Mm,
one-off. So everybody kind of swoops in. Now
yeah.
there are all kinds of things like that. But a terrific event. This one fellow who sponsored a lot of my events. During COVID, I read an article in the New York Times that there was a big focus on YOLO, like you only live once.
Yeah.
So I said, let's do some YOLO events. So what we did was we went to a women's business
Mm,
and we asked 4 women in leadership roles to be the guest speakers. And each one take 10 minutes and tell us your YOLO. And nobody interviewed them. And that was the key to success. Because
yeah.
normally when you're talking to somebody, you're, kind of directing the conversation. This was take 10 minutes and tell us who you are. Well, I'm telling you. any woman who's given 10 minutes to speak uninterruptedly with an audience, she's won the lottery.
Oh, yes. Why do you think I have a podcast? Like, it's
So
like,
I ended up, here you go. See?
oh, wow.
My friend found that at a garage sale, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, we ended up doing five because the first
Amazing.
one we did, there were women in the audience who said, Nancy, if you're doing this again, I'd like to be one of the guest speakers.
Mm,
So we just
mm,
kept it going. We pick another women business location, and we've got four speakers and pretty simple agenda, pretty
yeah.
simple, but it was so powerful. And the thing is, we found out things about people, women that we had known that we never would have known, X, Y, and Z if that person hadn't shared that
Mm,
vulnerable aspect of their well-being that they really wanted us to know about. I'll tell you
mm,
one great example. This one was really cute. This woman's at home during COVID. She always wanted to be a baker. She always wanted her own bake shop. So she started baking like there was no tomorrow. Well, across from her townhouse was a fire station. So who's going to eat all this stuff? So she would deliver it to them. Anyway, today she's got her own bake shop, but all these firemen they couldn't chop it down fast enough.
yeah. Of
And it
course, like
was
emergency services, they need the fuel. Like, they
exactly. So
wow.
the simplest idea can
Mm,
be the most powerful. That includes a lot of people,
yeah.
not just, you running the guest speaker and then this one and then that one. So
Yeah.
lots of fun, lots of fun.
I love also what you said about, there were aspects of there's aspects of people and women in particular that aren't always shared. And, naturally, because sometimes there's just not a reason for it to come up. But when when women are given space to just share, we learn so much and there's so much richness in that. And I specifically say women because historically we have not been given the same space. So,
Right, right,
like, yeah, when we are given that space to be like, what's really important to you about, and like, directed enough to prompt them, but giving that space to go, what's really important to you about your well-being? What makes you feel really well?
right,
I see that doing several things. As you said, it allows them to share potentially something that no one knew before because
right,
there just wasn't space to. But it also allows for the self-inquiry and the checking in of whether it's the woman speaking or the people listening, going, oh, what would my answer be? Which
right.
then immediately opens up the curiosity that I think prompts people to actually start to try things that if they haven't
Yes.
really given themselves that space or time to.
Exactly. No, and it was just, and not everybody in the audience knew one another. So it wasn't necessarily a familiar group. So
Yeah,
basically, take 10 minutes and tell us who you are, like YOLO,
yeah,
and start wherever you want. Like start last week or start 50 years ago. I don't know, but just tell us. And of course, that's when you heard all the twists and turns and all the challenges and, blah, 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 blah. It was terrific. It really, really was just a simple idea that we repeated several times.
yeah. I think that's so special. That's such a great idea. Are there any common, stories or mental scripts that you hear all the time from women about money or worth or well-being or being a good person that is inherently holding them back?
Well, as it pertains to wealth, people never feel that they've got enough money, number
Mm,
one. And number two, they don't feel that they have a good understanding of all the possibilities. So, with those two things in mind, they often just avoid the whole situation, which is the biggest mistake of all. Like, step up and step out and start into it. Like, really, really, really lean into it because all you're doing is finding a way to work with professionals to enhance your number one asset, which is you. And
hmm
nobody's going to do that for you. You have to do it yourself. Women don't want to be selfish. They never want to be seen to be selfish, but you have to be selfish because you are worthy of making yourself the AAA1 priority so that you can give that much more to everybody else. You
Yeah.
never want to be a liability because if you're a liability, then other people are missing out, including you.
Yeah. And I think it's also it's this element of there's sort of two factors to that. It's enough that we feel good, like that gets to be reason enough. And also generally speaking, as you said, women do want to be giving to the people around them because that's, like generally speaking,
Who we are.
that's who we are. And we can't do that if we're not if we're just expending energy and not allowing ourselves to just have this sense of self and this sense of wholeness in who we are, because otherwise it just becomes, and we look historically, we know, and even the risk of that happening now still, of it just becomes, oh, we exist to serve others.
Right.
But that makes me think like that I have visuals of like that leaves us just as husks of human beings, and
Right.
that's not what we're here for.
No, no. And you know the difference in a person when they have made themselves the priority to be the best they can be. You can see that because it's a whole level of confidence that's presented because they know they've got their act together. They know they're doing their best and they're working with professional advisors to
Yeah.
help them get their whole act together. The logo for Women Worth and Wellness is arms up in the air like this and
Mhm.
standing on a hill. Like I got
Yeah.
it. Like I got it. It's all
Yeah.
together. And that doesn't mean that it will always be together. You got to have regular reviews, but
Mhm.
you have to make yourself the number one priority because your life is your number one asset.
Mm. Yeah, we're the ones we spend the most time with.
Correct. That's an understatement.
Yeah.
Right.
We spend like I spend the most time with me and you spend the most
Yeah.
time with you. So why,
Right.
yeah, why would we settle for feeling less than or feeling depleted so much of the time?
And not
So
taking it seriously.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's even for me, I mean, I work in a different way, but I work in a lot of these areas and I still have to remind myself of like,
Right.
oh, like oh, and
Yeah.
and I think that's okay as well. But you mentioned also, getting the information and the going to professionals who can give you that information and that advice. I know for a lot of women, a lot of us, it's felt kind of like gate kept advice that's only for, it's for men, it's for professional men. It's not for women. You're playing make believe. But what do you say to women to help them feel more confident to go out and ask the questions that we sometimes don't have the answers to, and sometimes we feel like we need the answers to before we even ask the question.
Exactly. Because in asking questions, you indicate how much you don't know. And
Mm.
no woman wants to look like they don't know. It's like, how could you not know? Really. But never mind. Just know that you're worthy. Know that you've got a right to head out.
Oh
And
yeah.
if you head out to somebody and it's a bad experience, don't shut down. Keep looking. Ask friends, family, who are you working with? How well are they serving you? I'm a certified financial planner. I'm not sure if that's a global, I know it's in the US, it's North American, but there will be professional designations in your midst and just dial them up. I encourage people to go CFP near me. Two or three will come up, check them out, lower the microscope. That person looks like it might be worthwhile. Book an appointment. They'll be delighted to
Yeah.
meet you. And then
Yeah.
ask them a lot of questions about how they do business. What are their priorities in terms of outreach to their clients? Before
Mm.
you share any of your personal information. I mean, obviously you'll need to if you decide you're going to work with that person, but just get a feeling for who they are. And you can also ask for references. So
Yeah.
do your work, but get in the middle of it. You can't afford not to get in the middle of it. And a proper wealth advisor will also have anticipated health-related challenges in
Mhm.
that total wealth plan. So if you're focusing on investments only and retirement only, that's not enough. What happens if you have a critical illness? What happens if you have a disability? What happens if you have premature death and somebody's counting on your income? All of those questions a proper wealth advisor will ask. They'll
Yeah.
ask you the what ifs. Have you thought about this? And, all the way along. Recently, I was working, or a friend of mine was a trustee for a young person. The young person turned 18. So he took him in to meet with the wealth advisor who had been managing the whole portfolio up until that point. The wealth advisor said to the 18-year-old, I will be delighted to work with you and look after you, but I have two requirements. One is you must have a current will
Mm.
and estate plan. And number two, you must have an accountant with whom you're working. I thought, oh my goodness, that is amazing because talking to an 18-year-old about an estate plan is rocket science because people who are 75 still don't want to talk about it. So I thought that was really, really great.
Yeah, it also gets them to think about like it's not to drag them down, but it's to
Right,
get them to really start to. 18 is hard. Like I think it's a it's for many people it's a slow progression of realization of the weight of things. But if it starts there, then that actually gets, this 18-year-old to start to really consider, even if it's in the back of their mind, the
right,
weight of some of their decisions.
exactly. And
Even if
they'll,
it's in the back of their mind, like it's
yeah,
still going to be starting to inform how they make decisions in that way.
exactly. I think they will be so smart
Mm.
about going forward into their future in a completely new and different way.
Yeah.
Because it will, you're right, it's in the back of their mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you were saying about basically doing a vibe check with the person that
Right.
like you're vetting
Yep.
them.
Right.
It's, I think sometimes we go into, these appointments, for example, of someone who is qualified in something that we might not have much of an idea about, and it feels intimidating. And
Right.
it's like, oh, I need to please them. And there's almost this like, oh, I want to do a good job. Like maybe this is me, but like I want to do a good job. Like I want to please them. But I think it's so important to allow ourselves, exactly as you said, to ask the questions, to get a vibe of who they are, and really check in if we feel respected.
Correct.
I always think about I bought a new car a couple of years ago. It's the first new car that I've bought, and it was circumstantially needed to happen, but I was a little not intimidated, but I was a little concerned about going to the car yards, to the actual car yards, because it's like I don't want to be sold to, I don't want to be spoken down to. Like I'm a woman and I know how this can go.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
not putting that on anyone immediately, but I'm vigilant in that way of
Yes.
I know how this can go. I went to one because I thought I was going to buy that kind of car, and honestly, it I really would have bought that kind of car, but they just weren't helpful. They weren't trying to sell me, but they also weren't giving me
Right.
any information. They're like, "Oh, here, test drive this," and not telling me anything about the features of
Why?
the car. And my
Right.
previous car was so old that any new car felt like a spaceship. Like I could drive, but like any new car feels like a spaceship because my old car was so old.
Right.
So it was like, oh, I'm okay, I'm gonna go here on this test drive, but you're not telling me how to get the most out of this. You're not giving me any guidance. And that felt like a no. And then when I went to a different make of car, like a different brand, walked in, and I knew I had the energy. I didn't say this, but I had the energy of like, I don't want to be sold to, just I want the information though.
Right. Right.
And I got the information, and he wasn't
Wonderful.
trying to sell me, but it was this, oh, I feel like you've respected me enough to provide
Right.
information for
Right.
me to make an informed decision.
Correct. And
And
always remember that you're the client, you're the customer.
yeah.
And if they try to intimidate you or not answer your questions, well, then you move on.
Yep, you
Move
leave.
on. Move on. Move on.
Yeah. I think that's such a good reminder that you've shared with
Mhm.
everyone, just to Yeah, really have that remembrance of, yes, we are always a customer. And it doesn't mean we go in arrogant and rude either, but there needs to be a mutual respect. And even if it's an area that we don't know anything about, if,
Exactly.
yeah, we need to know that our questions aren't silly questions, are going to be
No,
answered and respected.
right. Take your time. It's not a fire.
Mm.
There's no fire.
Yeah,
Take your time.
yeah, there's no fire. So
Right.
how do you see women who are well resourced, whether it's emotionally, physically, financially, all of the above? How do you see them lead differently and carry out their lives differently versus women who are, I guess, depleted, as we've sort of said?
I think picking the right person to work with makes a million a million reasons why that is a key to success. And I'll
Mm.
share an example with you. We had a good friend staying with us this summer, and she spends a lot of her time south here, in the Caribbean.
Oh.
And so, of course, when she's there, markets go up, markets go down. It's like, do I need to be doing anything? Well, no, you really don't. But at the same time, you need to check in with your advisor. So she came to stay with us this summer. And she said, Nancy, I've got a Zoom scheduled with my guy. I know her well. I know him well. She said, I would like you to listen to the conversation so I can sit off to the side and hear the interaction. So away we go. He comes on. How are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And she said, well, the market seems to be, volatile now and again. How am I doing? He said, I want you to know that at any given point in time, I have always set aside 3 years worth of monthlies for you, which means that I continue to top this up. So you've always got 3 years looked after. And then he said, okay, we're taking some profits. This is her retirement account. We're taking some profits from your open investment account because they've exceeded our targets. He
Mm.
tells her specifically which ones he's taking money from. Because often as a retiree, you end up at a cocktail reception and people start talking about investments. And the last thing you want to do is stand there and look like you haven't got a clue what you own or who, really. And, it's part of the conversation. So he tells her specifics. And
Mm.
then he said, those profits I want to take and invest them into. And he mentioned two companies by name. So she now knows somebody says, are you invested in the blah, blah? She can say, yeah, as a matter of my guy just mentioned that so she's knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And then he said, I know from time to time you like to take out a lump sum. And she said, well, actually, I would like to take a lump sum because it's heading into the fall. And he said, okay, we've got that set aside for you. So this whole conversation happened back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. At which point in time they're about to start talk about family and weather or whatever. And so I said, I'm here. I just heard the conversation. And that was exceptional
Yeah.
because he's the trusted advisor. He's very professional. He's well prepared. He knows his client, what her questions could be, but he's also giving her more information than she's asking for. Like
Mm.
he's really handing it over. And she feels like $1 million. Like she'll sleep well tonight and the whole time she's away, but she checks in with him every 6 months
Mm.
unless something changes. If something changes, then you do it more frequently. But that's what everybody needs to work to have is that kind of a relationship. So you have a person that you trust as that professional for their expertise, but also, more importantly, they've got your back. They know who you are and they want the best for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. I think of my accountant actually because he runs my business stuff as well, and it's just like we just check in
Perfect.
every quarter, and it's always feels so supportive.
Good for you.
And it's just like, oh, and I can be myself as well. I think that's, for me, that's a really key important part of building these professional relationships is,
Yep.
can I be myself? Because I don't want to
Yes.
pretend.
No,
Like that
no. It's
depletes me. Pretending depletes me.
right. It's a partnership. It's a
Mm.
partnership. Everybody does their job, which is super. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What do you, this is a curiosity question I didn't even have planned, but What do you think about women having, there's different names for it, but uh, excuse my swearing, but women, some women call it like a fuck off fund or a fuck you fund or a,
Right. F
and
you.
it, yeah,
F-O.
and yeah, what do you think about the importance of women having something like that, but how to sort of be in relationship with having that because sometimes it can feel like it's like grippy and oh, it's everything's gonna fall apart. So I need to have this versus it just being a confidence builder.
Okay, so I'd take a rewind because
Mm,
before people partner, they spend
mm,
a ton of time talking. Talk, 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 talk. You don't partner with somebody until you're pretty confident you know who that person is. Otherwise,
mm,
you're not going to commit yourself to them. And so that's why I say you have to keep on talking, keep on talking. And that's why a wealth advisor is a great catalyst because sometimes you can't talk about things that you're concerned about to one another because neither of you really has the answer. For
mm.
example, if you have a line of credit, I think you probably know what that is, where you have an asset. Okay, so you've got a line of credit. And really, it should be a joint line of credit, but it should also be a line of credit where both signatures are required for any withdrawal. And
Mm,
that just means that you have headed off any vulnerability before it becomes an issue. Because in a relationship, the last thing that you want to do is mistrust your partner.
yeah.
As soon as there's any sort of tinge of mistrust, then that's tainting the relationship. That really is. And so
Yeah.
that's why having these conversations in front of a wealth advisor where you both can hear what the response is. And, that's when you have a lot of fun. Like,
Mm.
you can't trust that guy or that gal because I know they're just going to take the money and run and, blah, blah, blah. Well, if that's what you're thinking about, then let's make sure that. So in that case, you don't need the FO money. You don't. You
That's
don't
a good point.
because the FO money is there in case something's gone wrong, meaning you can't trust this person.
Mm.
They might do something that I don't agree with. So
Well, sorry, continue.
I know I'm just going to say try to keep it as transparent as it possibly can be so that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah.
Because trust is such a fragile aspect that is so fabulous. But as soon as you start to mistrust somebody, then, life isn't so pleasant.
And I think that's a really good point because we hear stories about financial abuse and
Right.
coercion as well that a lot of women can get stuck in, and um, I follow a lot of local accounts here that follow domestic violence things, so it's always kind of a background awareness for me, but. Um, they're always talking about how like the reason that a lot of women feel stuck, maybe it's in an abusive relationship, and
Right.
this is getting to the heavier side, but like in an abusive
Yep.
relationship or anything like that, is because they don't have the financial means to go anywhere to, even if they, especially if they have kids in tow, like it's there's no other option. But I love the lens of if you have the financial advisor or the wealth advisor,
Right.
they kind of act um
The
as
police
a
department.
yeah, kind of like, because they're doing their job, like, but they
Exactly.
they act as that mitigation
Right.
to someone being able to really do that beyond just having a joint account and then someone draining that account. It's like, oh,
Right.
if you're actually got someone else guiding that and holding that process and those requirements for you, for both of you, but because
Right.
it works either way, but like for you, then the nefarious side is a bit harder to actually happen.
Correct. But you
Mm.
can see how the scenario unfolds, whereas one person goes to work and the other person stays at home and is
Yeah,
the home manager, looking after kids in the
yeah.
whole household, and not considered to be as worthy as this person who goes to work and is earning all the money. Well, guess what? This is a partnership. We're in this together.
Yeah.
But the person who's at home should never, ever feel demeaned
Mm.
at all. And that's why that person needs to feel worthy of their right to share everything. But
Yeah.
but this is what you probably would have agreed to when you first partnered. It's just
Mm.
that life unfolds and you end up going in different directions. And well, I'll meet with the person because I know you're busy with this and whatever.
Yeah.
Make it a priority that you're both present and that you're both working on this together every step of the way, every step of the way.
We have something called superannuation here, and basically it's mandatory payments into our retirement fund, basically. And so if you're in employment, the employer has a mandatory requirement to and it's a certain level. I think at the moment it's 12.5% of your salary that
Okay.
they have to submit into each year into your retirement fund.
Excellent. Excellent.
But I think about women, I don't have kids, but I think about women who do have kids who stop working and they can't, like, there's that pay discrepancy for women. A lot of it is in the lost income because they're doing the household
Right.
duties, the caretaking duties, and all of that, and they don't have the job that's actually feeding their super. I love
Right.
seeing the conversations about the partner who is still working putting some of their money into their super
Yep.
as the balance, and it's like, yeah, that makes sense because they're losing out on their retirement fund on this,
Right.
on this fundamental thing to, in this case, to grow and have and nurture their family. So
Correct.
like, I mean, there's a lot I could go into it of like what they're doing to their bodies is incredibly valuable.
Right.
But
Yes.
yeah, it's so valuable. So I love even that conversation where people are starting to have more of those conversations of, oh, well,
Wonderful.
my partner puts money into my super while I'm on maternity leave.
Perfect.
Mm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. But it's
Oh.
just, you really just have to own your life and you
Mhm.
have to own it in a way that you go get the information and you keep getting the information until you're satisfied you've got a really, really good understanding and
Mhm.
you've headed off all the vulnerabilities you can possibly think of. But nobody's going to do that for you.
Yeah.
They're not. You got to work with people to help you get there, but you've got to drive the bus. You've got to, you've got to take the lead.
Yeah. Oh, I love this conversation. I feel like I could talk to you about this for hours because it's so interesting and I love the work that you're doing and that perspective that you're coming from as well of like we empower ourselves. We're not, it's not bestowed upon us. It's,
Right.
but, and sometimes it is harder again to conditioning, or we might be in certain situations that limit that ability. But whatever steps we can take, I think is that takeaway for me is whatever steps we can take to just be informed and inform ourselves. And it doesn't have to be painting the whole picture at once either.
No,
Yeah.
no. No, and mums are very busy. They got lots of things on their mind, but try to put this on your mind as a triple A1 priority. And
Mm.
also, again, focusing on leadership. If you're doing that sort of thing, then your kids are going to see you as a role model for stepping up to it all. So go for it. Go for it.
I say that all the time. It's like kids are noticing how like what you're
Yes,
modeling, not what you're saying. We know that.
right.
Like
Yep,
kids are
exactly.
noticing how you are treating yourself and how you are giving yourself grace or giving yourself like empowering yourself
Correct.
rather than like, well, they're also noticing if you're depleting yourself.
Right,
I think well, obviously we don't celebrate Thanksgiving here, but all of the pictures from the US Thanksgiving have been recent and the memes and everything. It's like the stereotypical, I know this isn't in every case, but the stereotypical, like women are the ones preparing everything and
right,
busting their guts to, to
right, right,
prepare everything. Could be the same for Christmas or any holiday. It's like, oh, that is being absorbed. So how you value yourself and your energy in regardless of whether it's gendered or otherwise. Yeah,
right.
that's what I'm taking away is that reminder of yeah, how we prioritize ourselves and our energy and what we need for ourselves for our life is
Exactly,
so
exactly.
important.
Exactly. And life goes by so fast that you need to bring your best forward every chance you get. And
Yeah.
that takes work. You got to think about it. You really do have to think. Otherwise, stuff just happens. You just get swept into things that maybe are not the best. So make yourself the priority. And then you're making choices that you've given some thought to.
Yeah. And I imagine that obviously the sooner is better,
Oh,
but
definitely.
there's probably, it's probably an element of never too late though. Like,
Correct.
yeah. Oh,
Exactly. Exactly.
such good advice, such good reminders. Thank you so much, Nancy.
My pleasure.
How can people find you, follow you, or any of that? I'll
The
include
best.
all the links in the show notes, but yeah, let us
Perfect.
know.
The best thing is tell them to send me an email, and
Hmm.
then you go into our database, and
Mm,
then you will be kept up to date in whatever we're up to. We're on all the social media, but the database kind of gives you info about what in the world's going on in the world of women, worth, and wellness. And my email is very simply Nancy, Nancy, at womenworthwellness.com. Nancy
easy.
at womenworthwellness.com. So send me an email, say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever, and then you're in the database, and then away we go.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for your time and for sharing and for uplifting us all with this reminder. Um, yeah, I feel like there's such good value in that and just a great reminder as we head into a new year and maybe look at doing things that are a bit more nurturing for each of us as well.
And just make yourself the priority, really. Like, think, what do I need to do so that I feel like, wow, I'm on top of my game? I'm on top of my game.
Yeah.
What do I need to do in order that I can feel that way? And then things start to fall into place. But, I just keep saying, make yourself the priority and the rest will be fabulous. It just comes through in so many ways that you've got your act together. You're not spinning in circles and, getting too upset and angry and all those things that are not so great.
Yeah, it removes a lot of that the
Busyness.
the busyness and the question marks, even if it's not all of the question marks, it's like, oh,
Right.
there's unnecessary question marks here though.
Right. Slow yourself down so you can go faster.
Oh, incredible. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you and for sharing. It's been lovely.
Excellent. Well, likewise, Jess, and thank you for including me in your podcast. My pleasure. My pleasure. Keep up all your great work.
Thank you.